Hey guys, Kevin here. I just wanted to say before this podcast starts that I am super sorry. We had a lot of technical difficulties when doing this. Cameras weren't working. My camera ended up glitching out, so I was even going to try to do my camera, and it didn't end up working. We had some mic issues that I didn't know until afterwards, so my guest today, Brett, kind of sounds a little off. I'm super sorry about that. I tried to clean it up as best as I could. Um, but I didn't want to leave you guys with nothing. So here's this, and I'm sorry. Enjoy it. So there's no video this week, but there is audio as much as I could recover. There are some glitching audio because I did use the audio from Discord, and his mic cut out at some points. I'm super sorry. I hope to do better in the future. Thanks, guys. Hello guys, Kevin here. Welcome to another episode of the Kevin Cast. Today I am here with my co-host Brett, another Twitch streamer, and he does a lot of other things as well. If you'd like to introduce yourself as well, um,
Yeah.
you'll be able to
So
describe it better than I can.
a lot of other things is more of an accurate description than you might initially anticipate. I am a tennis coach. I played Division I tennis when I was in college. I dropped out of college at the start of the pandemic of COVID and ended up working as a tennis coach. But I've always been interested in psychology even well before college. So now I'm kind of going back through classes. I'm trying to get my degree in that, hopefully to get a little bit more street cred, I guess, because every psychologist I talk to is surprised to learn that I'm not already like a psych major. Just because I've spent so much time with it, I pretty much have done more studying than most current psych majors.
Mhm.
But I mean, you know, the world spins around and people think college means everything. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But so yeah,
but
so
I am currently streaming as well now, trying to get into that because the biggest thing I want is a platform to be able to reach people because I want to be able to help explain the human mind in ways that people may not initially understand it.
oh yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, and he did diagnose my. It's called a what? The
Personality type in the MBTI
personality type.
system.
Yeah. So he did diagnose mine just from texts that I was sending in his chat, and I thought that was wild. It was crazy to me how fast he had figured out what I was, and it was
Yeah.
amazing to watch in action. And you're one of the only streamers that I know that somehow has like no delay. Like I would send a message and you were like almost instantly reading it, and it's crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly makes it easier. I know I have it set on low latency for exactly that reason. I
Mhm.
don't like the social pause of having to wait for like 30 seconds before your chat gets read and responded to,
Mhm.
because for me at least, my brain has gone through five other conversation topics
Yeah.
within that 30-second period that I'm already like completely moved on. And
Mhm.
it's just like this stop, go stuff that I don't really like, and it does make it easier when I'm smaller
Mhm.
and I can read just your messages.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it only took me. You definitely were one of the quicker ones, but I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
also
I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing or.
it's generally a good thing because the more you're in tune with your personality type, the more happy you're going to be on a cognitive level because you're not working against your natural impulses and how your brain's naturally wired to function.
Mhm.
Like you're What's really interesting is there was a neuroscientist, Dr. Dario Nardi, who's been doing brain scans based off of the 16 personality types. And what's really cool about that is a lot of the mainstream psychologists that are, really deep into their PhDs and their long careers are not huge fans of MBTI. They very much prefer Big Five because they think MBTI doesn't have any grounds in science. But
Mhm.
what's interesting now is with the brain scan technology that's recently been coming about and Dr. Nardi's work, he's been able to prove basically the existence of the 16 archetypes that Carl Jung himself derived because the brain patterns literally show up in only 16 different designs,
Oh yeah, that's
that's
wild.
correlated with each of the different types.
Yeah.
Um, what's interesting is that there's subtypes within each of the 16 types. There's four subtypes, and this is getting at what I'm talking about with the cognitive happiness. Each of the four subtypes have a different neurotransmitter that they prefer. So dominant tends to prefer dopamine. Um, creative, no, dominant tends to prefer testosterone. Creative tends to prefer dopamine. Normalizing tends to prefer serotonin. And then the harmonizing tends to prefer estrogen. So what you'll see in each of the subtypes is brain patterns that are heavily wired towards chasing after those specific chemicals. And what's interesting is when you see these like guys that may be particularly feminine or more like caring and then have those kinds of characteristics, they tend to be harmonizing subtypes because their brain has a preference to pursue estrogen as a reward chemical. And
Interesting.
then you have these girls that are like really bombastic and like go after it and will fight you at a moment's notice kind of thing. And then they tend to be the dominant subtypes that have a preference for testosterone. Um, it's really interesting the amount of things that it's starting to explain.
Yeah.
And it's a lot less of the guesswork, which psychology normally is, because we're taking physical brain scans so we can see the physical, like, neurological structures that are formed and what they're getting after. It's really, really neat stuff.
Yeah, that's
But
actually yeah,
the
that's
more
super
that you live
cool.
in
Yeah.
harmony with that, the more you're going to be experiencing a fullness of life and you're going to act a lot more like the, I guess, you're going to be the prime example of your type most of the time.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, I wasn't expecting like to. I normally do this maybe once a week or sometimes even multiple times a week where I'll go on Minecraft and just go to like sort by lowest viewing and I'll just click through like 30 of them or whatever. And the first one to say hi back to me is the one that I'll stay with. And yeah, I was not expecting to hop in this call or this thing at like 8 p.m. or whatever. I like just finished my stream. I was like, oh yeah, it was like it's such a good time, and I found you, and I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. He's doing like a hardcore on Bedrock, which I haven't seen a lot of people do because a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
lie about it, and
Right.
yeah.
I still intend to do a hardcore series. I just want to have a world that I also can like take the time to build and
Oh
everything.
yeah.
I also have to show you this one seed that I found during my different takes because what I was doing with the seeds in it is every time I died, the first world was take one, the name of the world, but I also made that the seed. So the
Mm.
seed on every subsequent world was take one, two, three, four,
Yeah,
yada
yeah,
yada.
yeah.
I think it was take seven. I found a village that had a skeleton spawner on the surface in it.
That's crazy.
Like I walked around the hill with me and my friend, and we get hit by a skeleton, and we're like, "What in the?" We look around the corner. There's just a skeleton spawner just in the wall of the hill, just completely open, and it's right in the village square, like
Oh yeah,
right where the bell is, where everybody meets. I'm,
that's a great one for like an iron farm.
oh yeah,
Perfect. Yeah, yeah,
it's
um,
crazy.
yeah.
Glad it
Um,
wasn't a zombie spawner. That village would have been screwed.
oh yeah. So, what is your? I always have trouble trying to justify doing a survival series. I've wanted to do one for so long, and I can't keep myself motivated enough to be like, let's go do this. Like, I start it, and I'm like, I build a house, and I'll get there, and then as soon as the house is done, I'm like, I don't know what to do next.
Yeah, so it's interesting, isn't it? Because now I can tie this back into MBTI, and this is why I absolutely love the system. And I usually try to, if I'm going to try and help someone or just get to know them, I want to know what their type is so that I can maximize the amount of quality experiences that we have. Now, I definitely have had friends that are like, why do you keep talking about it? And like, well, it's because I know you aren't living the best way that you can. Like, you're working against your own brain. Um, but what ends up happening for you in that situation because you're an ESFJ, so your dominant function and the main thing that you're going to be motivated by is your extroverted feeling or the extroverted emotional environment. But the thing that kind of galvanizes you and gets you going, as I explained to you in the stream when you were there, is your extroverted intuition.
Mm-hmm.
So it's seeing the possibilities and the potential that everything has. So when you're in a brand new world, then you're like, okay, there's I can go do this, I can go do that, and then you kind of go through it. You get everything done a little bit. You get the basics started, but then your dominant functions kick in of extroverted feeling and introverted sensing, and you're like, okay, I want to do something that's best for the community, but I am the only part of the community in this survival series. So
Yeah.
it's like there's nothing that motivates your main source of like drive, and it doesn't cognitively satisfy you. A way that you could kind of model that, and this is part of what I'm eventually hoping to do once I get my life coaching things going, is help explain how people can set things up so that they can be maximally motivated to do it from a cognitive standpoint, not from like a self-help book, motivation kind of standpoint. Um, you could just have it where you do a survival series with a group of people, like you have it be not like a server, but like a realm, for example, or
Mm-hmm.
something like that,
I have done that
where
in the
it's just
past.
4 or 5
Yeah.
people that can come in and play, um, and you all work together, and you can kind of manage and help that community and guide them towards projects and things like that.
Yeah, I've
Because
done.
you're doing your own survival series, you're just not mentally equipped for it. Like you can do it, but you'd be working against how you're naturally wired.
See, it makes me feel so much better about myself. Not ever. I've never finished like a solo let's play of anything because I've been so like I'll be sitting there and I'll get like through like 2 or 3 episodes and I'm like I'm just not having fun doing this. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
like
You want to go be with people. Like
yeah,
that's
that's
just
my
how you're
biggest
wired.
thing. Yeah, so it's like I'm always like whenever I stream, I'm always like, oh, I want somebody to join me or just chat with me. Even like I have such trouble
Mhm.
like getting through stuff. And then like I've done like realms or I've done SMPs in the past where I've been working with people and I end up doing a lot more and even to the point where like but then I also end up taking it a step further. Like when it was my SMP, I ended up taking it to the point where I was like uh like I turned it into like a story SMP for everybody else. Like I stopped streaming it and
Mhm.
everybody else got so much more out of it. Like there's people who have TikTok
Right.
clips from it and they blew up from it and stuff like that and I was just there. Like I was running the story. Like I had completely given up on the survival aspect, but I think that's a big thing for me too is that I don't normally enjoy the survival aspect because of I enjoy creating. I've done a lot of
Right.
Minecraft maps, and I enjoy more doing stuff in creative where I can work with command blocks and redstone and stuff like that, where I can
Mhm.
do a lot more.
Yeah, it's not that creating things for the community. Like that's basically what it
Oh
is. Your
yeah,
dominant function, the extroverted feeling, being in service of the extroverted ethic. And then it's introverted sensing, which is stabilities and structures and things that are reliable and the way that they should work. So you're just needing that core like need that you have or the core thing that motivates you, which is to be able to build something of quality and of service to the community that was not there before, which is where the extroverted intuition motivation sparks in and kind
mm-hmm.
of kicks you into gear. And then you have your inferior function, which is also quite happy of introverted thinking, so being highly technical and highly logical with small little details and things, even though that's not something you're particularly good at making yourself do, it still is something that you are good at. So when you need to utilize it, you can. Kind of like me with organization, because my inferior function is introverted sensing. So I kind of like, I can get organized and I can bring structure when I need it, but generally I'm not even thinking about it. It's just kind of like there in the back of my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always like been more of like oh I want to build this for other people to do. Like I've never been like oh I'm gonna stream this survival world with some people. I'm like more like, oh, I'm gonna make a story that they can enjoy, that their viewers can enjoy, and I'll stream some stuff, other stuff, like
Right. So the real question at that point for you, and this kind of gets into the shadow functions as well, is like, how do you then advocate for yourself? Like, how do you find success for yourself? Because by default, your brain is not at all interested in it.
nope.
Like, your brain just wants to help create new possibilities for the community, and that fills you with life. But it's like, who's going to take care of the caretaker kind of situation?
Yeah.
Um, and that's part of becoming more balanced. Like, you can live in accordance with what's maximally going to motivate you, but then you kind of have to give the devil his due, so to speak. Like, you have to not be yourself in order to grow and become more holistic. So that's where Jung gets into, shadow work and things like that. It's not necessarily that you have to become your opposite, but you have to acknowledge the power in the different ways of being and find ways that you can either integrate that into your own life or to outsource that work to other people. Like, you can have somebody that, is a coworker for you, or, an employee that would do the advocating for you, that could kind of sell your services and be a little bit more like, this is the price that I need to get for this. Like, this is the value I think it can bring, and I'm going to hold to that. I don't care if you ask me nicely.
that's a
I don't
that's a
care if
that's
you're a nice person.
that's a big thing for me. Is I'm sort of a pushover when it comes to stuff like that. Like people will be like, "Hey, can you like hop on this?" I'm like, "Well, I have this to do and this to do," and they're like, "Oh, well, it's just gonna be for like a little bit." I'm like, "Well, maybe I could push some stuff around to hop on for."
Yeah, and that's exactly one of the things that I've given a lot of thought and really made me dive deep into understanding the system. Is I feel and have always wanted to design a world in which everybody is appropriately rewarded for what they're naturally best at. So, for example, people wouldn't ask to get your stuff for free because they understand the actual value that it brings, and that you could get your basic needs and your needs, personal needs, met and have you taken care of while you're also doing the things that you're best at doing.
Mhm.
Because with your personality type, there's no other personality that is going to be better at creatively, providing structure and harmony for other people. Like, you're extremely selfless by nature. You can be extremely organized, and you can take care of everybody and make sure that everyone's kept as happy as possible. That's like what you specialize in. And it has always annoyed me that there are certain types of people that just chronically, I know it sounds so stereotypical to say they get taken advantage of, because it's not like people are intentionally taking
No,
advantage of
yeah,
you. They're just wired to utilize whatever resources are readily at their disposal.
yeah,
And unless you straight up tell them that you have this expectation of them paying you a certain amount, they're just going to go with whatever is convenient for them because that's how they're wired. It's not
yeah,
that they're particularly being manipulative or anything like that. Of course, there are people like that, but the general default is so far away from, like, psychopathic manipulators and narcissists. And it really is just people that are wired to progress towards a goal as fast as possible in line with their own personal budget. For
yeah.
example, like the logical counterpart to you, you're an ESFJ. So the other type, which would be an ESTJ, um, the only difference being that they're an extroverted thinker and you're an extroverted feeler, and they're an introverted feeler and you're an introverted thinker. So they have their mind set on the quickest way to whatever, like, goal or stability that they're after.
Hmm.
And they can see every possibility to take the fastest possible route to get there, or the cheapest possible route, or the most
Hmm.
effective. Let's put it that way, the most effective route. whether it's time or finances or whatever. So if they can find somebody that they know is genuinely a helpful person, they may not even think twice about, calling them up and be like, hey, could you help this? I need a favor, and then not even talk about finances because you're just willing to do it because you're that good of a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just natural to you, and you get enough of a reward in your brain that you're not thinking, okay, I need a financial incentive to do this.
Yeah.
But the problem is, you can't exactly provide for yourself if you end up doing that too often.
Mm-hmm.
So I have I designed this world in my head where everybody would be, assigned different roles within the community where they get to utilize what their best strength is and they're rewarded appropriately for that. Now, I'm not at all trying to claim that's economically feasible. There's a certain amount of struggle, obviously, that has to happen, but there's far too much of it and far too little understanding about how people's brains are actually wired. It's like you wonder why there's a crisis of motivation. It's because nobody actually cares about how the individual works. Everyone only cares about how well they fit into the system and how little they disrupt it.
Yeah, it's really showing because like with even like Twitch and stuff like that, I've been super trying to be like, oh yeah, I'm really doing this just to put out a content that I'm like that'll make like if I made somebody smile or if I changed how their day was going, that is all that matters to me. But to do that more, I then have to start talking about money. And then people start thinking, oh, well, he's only doing this for money. And it's like, that's not what I'm doing. It's because to be in a more stable situation where I can make more content to make more people happy, it kind of does have to be a source of income for me.
Yeah. And that's where you have to realize you have to bite the bullet and you kind of have to play the game that's been set up. So there's there's a stereotype with a certain type within the MBTI community of the ENTJ being the like they're known as the commander as the type's name. And I think yours is the guardian, by the way. Side note.
I have a quick
But
question. Hold on. Because
yeah.
I ended up taking like it was like a quick online test after we had that conversation to see if I got the similar one. And the
Mhm.
one that it gave me was called the entertainer.
The entertainer. So you got ESFP.
Yeah.
Um, typically, do you know on the perceiving judging axis what your percentage was?
I don't. I was just like, oh, I want to take this to see if I get a similar result or like what.
Okay. So the online tests are almost always at least one letter off, sometimes two. But you got three out of the four letters. And for them, the difference between an ESFP and an ESFJ is just whether you answer one questions a little more agree or a little more disagree. If you're a little more perceptive, that is completely against how Jung designed the system and how Myers-Briggs actually designed the system as well. Because the ESFP and the ESFJ had absolutely no cognitive functions in common, despite being one letter apart. They're completely different personalities, completely different, completely wired towards different things. And ESFP is going to be predominantly aware of the immediate sensorial environment and pursuing their own personal ethical motivations as fast as possible through their extroverted thinking. And then they only plan whenever everything goes to basically.
That makes
Um,
sense.
and that's not you. Um, ESFPs only tend to also care about those that are close to them. They have their own personal ethic where they care about people in general, but they really are not focused on other people. They're focused on their own experience, and other people sometimes intertwine with that. And here's something important to understand: I'm not at all trying to say that they're selfish. I'm talking about how they're naturally wired. They're
Mm-hmm.
naturally wired to think of their own personal immediate experience and the maximum kind of sensorial enjoyment they can bring to themselves and those they care about.
Yeah.
Um, and they want that as fast and as effective as possible.
Mhm.
So they're going to be the people that you see at every party, at every club, kind of thing. Um, just living life to the fullest,
Mhm.
which is why they're called the entertainer. Um, so you can see how those are two completely
Oh
different
yeah, yeah. I was
personalities.
just curious because I got it and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I wonder like what the difference is and why I would have gotten this one. Because I normally when I take like stuff like that where it's like, oh, to strongly agree to strongly disagree, I try not to go the middle ground because then it's just people like I try not to hit neutral. I try to go. I try to never even hit like the middle two. I try to either do like a full one side or like because there's three on each side, and I try to do either the middle or the far. I never try to do too much in the middle.
And that's interesting because you're sacrificing a potentially more accurate answer for what you expect, for what you think they're socially expecting of you. Mm. Like you realize how that's not actually an accurate way to take the test, right?
Yeah, I guess that's just how my brain sees it. Like my brain's always like, "Oh, well if I just say neutral a bunch of times, I'm not going to be like I feel that it's going to be like less of like cuz like I'm more of always like sometimes I'll pick neutral if I'm like truly like there's no way I feel either way about this. Like
Mm-hmm.
but like normally I'll try to be like, which way do I truly feel about this? And I'll try to pick more of like towards that side and less of like obviously sometimes I'll have to pick the middle ground because like I'm not, but like I try harder to be like, this is more of how I feel about this. And like if I do like I always try to leave strongly agree to when I'm like 100% like yeah that's 100% how I feel about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's actually a perfect way for me to kind of transition into talking a little bit more about the inferior function, and I'll talk about yours in particular here. The inferior function tends to be what is always out of balance in our personality type. It's still a core part of us. It's still something we consciously use, but it's that like 3-year-old child in the model of like it can't articulate itself too well. It still needs to be kind of cared for, but it still can bring value. Um, Introverted thinking has been kind of named like they've given names to each of the functions, and introverted thinking is accuracy. So it's about those small details about what is really factually true, like what is concrete and, down to the smallest detail assembled properly.
Mm.
So your extroverted feeling, which is the yin to introverted thinking's yang, um, when it's out of balance, when it's inappropriately balanced, it's your concern about what other people might be expecting or what the social, you know, moray would be for you selecting those middle options. You're caring more about what other people might perceive as opposed to whether it's actually accurate for your own answer and what makes sense to you. It's just that is how your brain naturally works, but your brain doesn't naturally work perfectly. So it's kind of learning to suck it up and be like, even if this may upset somebody, this is still more accurate for me. I still care about this person and I still care about what they think, but it's not factually accurate for me to change this answer just because they feel a little upset by it.
Yeah. Um all I want to say to the people listening or watching right now is that this is crazy to me. And the reason that I'm not talking as much as I did in the last one is because this is so fascinating to me because I met Brett probably, I say a week ago. And this is the first time we've ever talked to each other physically. And he knows more about me than some of my closest friends do.
Mhm.
And it is
It's
crazy to me.
yeah. I mean, I will say there's a reason psychologists don't tend to have a lot of friends, and it's because we can get so deep into people's
Oh, I
psyches from the
love
very
it. I love
beginning.
this. It's so cool to
Yeah.
me.
We don't tend to have a lot of friends, but we tend to have very quality ones because we are really good at understanding people. And a lot of people don't really like to be shown these kinds of more core and private parts of themselves that generally don't see as much of the light of day, or maybe weaknesses that you're kind of personally a little bit insecure about sometimes. Um, and it's difficult because a lot of people in my generation, well, in our generation, are not. Mental health has been going down, and that's
Oh,
absolutely no secret.
yeah.
People have been getting much, much more neurotic because the expectations placed upon our generation, as well as the amount of freedoms we have versus the amount of responsibilities we're realistically taught, is so skewed into the wrong direction that you end up with these situations where people have not really been shown the darker parts of themselves and or pushed to actually grow, and analyze the ways that they're not living up to the best they could, excuse me, the best they could be.
Mhm.
And it just, I always feel like talking to people is a catch 22 for me because my personal FP, I deeply care about authenticity, and my motivating function is extroverted thinking, so I can see an objective, I can see a goal, and then my extroverted intuition and introverted feeling can see all of the possibilities, and I can empathize just on a personal level with what somebody might be going through, so I can very quickly and easily put myself in their shoes, and then figure out everything that's going wrong and the quickest path to get them out of that and on the best track possible. Like ENFPs were natural problem solvers of other people's problems. Like our biggest thing is solving our own problems because we're so perceptive of everybody else's and what's going on in the extroverted environment. We can see that, and it kind of becomes our own personal goal to help everyone realize the best possibilities, the extroverted intuition, as quickly and effectively as possible, the extroverted thinking. Um, and we can organize that and take care of it all, but that's the introverted sensing that does that in the end. So we have all of these perceptions, but we have the ability to execute on them of a 3 year old. So convincing somebody to trust a 3 year old with something that's deeply complex and,
Yeah.
personal is a bit of a struggle sometimes because we can't articulate it, lay out the plan as effectively as someone like you could maybe. Like you can listen to a problem that somebody has, and if they can articulate it well, you can kind of find a quick, stable solution for them that makes them happy. And it may take you, you may struggle with being technically accurate, but you're going to get a lot more of the bulk work done way quicker than I will. It's just going to be the accuracy that kind of suffers. And
Mhm.
obviously, I have some drawbacks too that are kind of along the same line, but it's like there's a give and take that everybody has to understand with each personality type and things that may be harder to them with.
Mhm.
Um, but I very much, I forgot the final point I was trying to wrap that up with. I'm going to be completely honest.
That's all right.
But
That's what this podcast is about. I'm actually curious to see that um is it strange that I'm willing to be so open about this sort of like topic and even like broadcast it to where like an open media like this where anybody could watch it and see that like because I've been so open about what my like type is and like what how my insecurities about different things and how it affects me. Is that something that you don't really see as often or
so typically with dominant extroverted feelers, you guys are very open about this stuff by default. And it's just because, like, when you're in company that seems, like you're sharing everything on kind of an open personal level, you're going to have absolutely no problem matching that, emotional energy. So, from that standpoint, it's not too weird. Generally, ESFJs are actually seen as one of the happiest, most pleasant types to be around, until you're being disorderly and you find yourself on the wrong the law, basically. Um, so that is a particular brand of ESFJ as well, though. generally you guys are not going to be the ones when somebody's being super disruptive to kind of go in and put your foot down. You're going to try to softly talk them out of it.
Oh, okay. I was like, I've been the type of person to be like, all right, I'm had enough. But like, I'm always more like, all right, can we like, wrap it up? Or like, I don't really feel comfortable doing that. Like, I'm not like, I'm not like no. Like, I'm like, maybe not right now.
Yeah. So somebody like the ENTJ that I was mentioning earlier would be like, if you do not stop this behavior right now, I'm going to ban you. And it's just like from 0 to 100. Like the second they see something that's out of line with what they want, they have absolutely no problem stating, if you do not get in line with my vision for this, I will remove you from that vision. It is nothing personal, it is just business.
That's been my biggest problem with running like my SMPs in the past, especially ones that have a story and stuff like that, was like trying to keep everybody like in the story. Like especially when we have such different time zones and people are all streaming it and stuff like that. People want to create their own little like lore bits and stuff like that, and then I don't know about them because I can't catch everybody's stream, and then I'm doing stuff that complicates their stuff. But like at the end of the day, it was always my story, so I was like kind of being like, "Hey guys, can we like not anymore?" It's the only time I've ever been
Right.
like kind of put my foot down. I've been like, "Hey, stop."
Right.
And then like when the first season ended and then I started my second season, I tried to be more like, this is going to be a story that's okay with everybody, and everybody was like, "All right, cool. We'll try to be more." And I explained it, and then but then the second season had like more mods and stuff like that, and I was adding stuff that like but I was trying to be more transparent about it, or like less transparent, so that people were more surprised by stuff that I was doing. And it got like, I don't know what happened, but somebody was like, I just don't feel that you're transparent with us, and you're changing stuff that's making things not like the way that we thought this was going to be. You said light mods, and now you're doing stuff that's, I was like, yeah, but it's for the story, and I didn't want to like, and then all of a sudden I was just like not interested in the project anymore. Like they said one thing and I was just like, I just don't want to do it anymore. It was like my passion project. Like I was like, oh, everything, like I'm every day I'm like on doing this. I'm doing this. I'm writing stories. I'm getting prepared for next events and stuff like that. And then this happened and I was just like, I just don't feel like doing it anymore.
Right. So this actually, it's a perfect, again, a perfect segue into something else I was wanting. So there's something called the advisor type for each of the 16 personality types, which is the social, it's the study of the social dynamic between personality types.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the advisor type is the type that has your polar function. So kind of the south pole to your north pole. It's the thing that you're aware that you're not, but often try to work on being better at and are constantly working on improving. And for you, that's introverted intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And your advisor type is going to have that as their dominant function, but is going to have your dominant function as their auxiliary. So their two parent functions, their two dominant functions, are going to be your polar function and your dominant one. So what that's going to look like is somebody that can completely understand how you're predominantly motivated and what your brain typically goes through, but is also the absolute strongest at what you're the absolute weakest at. Um, and for you, that's an INFJ. Now, having an INFJ that you can consult for something like that dream S&P thing where you were trying to keep everyone a little surprised and everything, if you told them about that and just gave them some of the details you'd gone through, they'd very quickly be able to tell you like what your plan is going to play out as, how it's going to affect the extroverted emotional environment of people down the road. Because introverted intuition, their dominant function, is able to take a specific goal and project 5, 10, 15, even 20 years, like years down the line about how that's going to progress and all the different steps they're going to need to take to get there. Like that is what they are built for. and they're built to do that in the most harmonious and inoffensive to other people way to other people as possible. So it's going to take the thing that you generally struggle with being able to do or can't do properly when you try, um, and be able to do that in a way that completely agrees with how you're primarily wired. So they'll be able to give you that long, like 5, 10, 15, 20 year plan while being able to also consider people's, emotions the way that you naturally would.
Mhm.
So if you can find somebody to work with that's an INFJ and vet them as an INFJ, that would bring resource for you.
Yeah, yeah. I another question I had, and I was wondering if this was something that is just me or if it's something that is affected by this, is like working with just somebody around. Like I've had trouble like being focused on stuff when I try and sit and do it by myself, like working on my music or working on my video games that I've worked on and stuff like that. I've had trouble sitting there and just doing it by myself. But as soon as somebody's just even sitting in the room and I get to like explain it to them, I do so much better working on it. And I've tried to do that with stream, but I find that it's boring and I don't want to do it as much on stream. Like it's not even like where it's like, but like if a person is physically sitting there, I can do it, but it's like hard for me to do that either on stream or by myself.
Right. So that's actually getting at two things. Again, primarily things that you link into that extrovert with other people. When you're in the room physically with somebody, you're and there help kind of get your work done just by being. You're going to be aware of that social expectation, and your primary motivation circuits are going to be like, okay, as much as I may want to explore a bunch of different possibilities with my extroverted intuition, my 10-year-old child,
Mm-hmm.
the parents are saying, no, we need to get this done because this person is here to help us do that. And that's what matters more to our brain. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
it overrides the natural kind of impulse for you to go and explore a bunch of other things with what's naturally more motivating in the brain. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You're just working with what you're given.
yeah, I've noticed that like even like if they're not like talking to me or working on the same thing as me, I've had people sit in the room scrolling on TikTok, and as long as I can like know that they're there, it's like my
Yeah, you're
brain is just
aware.
like, I need to do this. This is what I need to be doing. I can't be going on YouTube or going and working on something else. I need to be working on this.
Because you're passively worried about their potential perception of being a negative. You're not son of a. You still care about the person's perception because it's big
Mm-hmm.
and the perception that you care about. You care and representing. You're not designed to lie yourself. Like you really aren't. There's very unique times where you do kind of shut your if you're something like that and you really tunnel vision on. It's going to be very much the exception and not the rule for you.
Yeah,
And
that was. It's a lot of
it's
the
important to
time.
understand because a lot of people get this idea that they're supposed to be able to, do one thing or another that's ends up being completely against how they're cognitively wired. And it's kind of it's not very polite to say, but it is just straight up foolish to expect yourself to do something that you are not wired for. Like you're not gonna walk into a gym and go bench press for 70.
No, I probably couldn't even. I probably wouldn't even walk into a gym and think about going over there. I go to my gym and run on my treadmill for 45 minutes.
But yeah, like it's just a lot of people have perception. I should be able to do this, but they never stop to think whether they're actually wired to be able to. They don't even know.
I never
Like
even thought
they're
about
they
that.
what I
Like,
mean.
I never even thought about that. Like, I never even knew that this was like something that was so prominent that like I could like pretty much classify myself into something, and I didn't even know that. Like, I've been sitting here like I'm just
Mhm.
not. I'm not motivated to do this, and like that's my whole thing is that I'm like, why am I not motivated? And it's that like seeing that this and like I'm not saying that it gives me an excuse for not doing things, but like it makes me feel better about the way I end up doing stuff. Like, cause I'll start
Right.
working on a game and I'll be like, oh, I need like I won't even have fucking anything done in the game, but I'll be like, oh, I have a title screen. I need title screen music, and I'll open up my like music program and I'm working on something completely different, and then I'll start working on title screen music and I'll be like, oh, you know what? This actually sounds pretty cool. I might turn this into something else, and then I'll start working on that, and then like I'll like at the end of the night I'll go to close that program and I'll close it, and my video game or like Unity will be open, and I'm like, why is Unity? I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I was doing like 4 hours ago.
Right.
Like,
So that's the thing. Like when that's happening, you're being led around. You're letting the 10-child family.
yeah,
You're you're letting your extroverted intuition do something like that. Now, there's times to do that, but generally, you're not when letting a child run a family with two adults in it
yeah,
and a 3-year-old child that also has to be taken care of. So it's just about understanding those things in particular. And again, I had something I was going to say and I've completely forgotten it. We'll remember it eventually.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah, go on.
since we're getting into like the thick of it, I do want to just like pivot a little bit, and but before we do get into more of like gaming stuff, I just wanted to say that this episode of the podcast is sponsored by W Energy. It is an energy supplement that has helped me through endless nights of editing and stuff like that. They have caffeine free stuff now. They've got wonderful flavors, but it's jitterless energy. I never feel that I have that like jitteriness after drinking this, and it's just one scoop into like a bottle of water. You shake it up and it's great. It's also pre-workout and it helps me keep my brain focused. It actually does. Like a lot of people say that about like other supplements, and I do feel that I've been like more focused sometimes when I'm drinking this. It's wonderful, and if you use my code Kevin Creates at checkout, you get 10% off your entire order. Uh, but yeah, so something else that I did want to talk about was that you just recently started streaming, and I've been streaming for almost, I don't know, 10 years now. So I thought maybe we could flip this now, seeing that we're like about halfway through, and you could ask more of like questions in that realm.
Yeah, that would be perfect. One thing I do want to say real quick before we completely transition,
Uh huh.
taken from somebody with ADHD who's on medication for it, jitteriness sucks,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
cannot play competitive shooters when your hands are jittery.
Oh, yeah.
It just throws off your aim completely.
Oh, yeah.
Like I play Overwatch. I go from like having silver and gold mechanics when I'm jittery to being like mastered around GM
Oh,
when I
yeah.
actually have like that, stable
Oh, but
arms.
yeah, but definitely, I've had energy drinks where I've been like, I'll be sitting there and I'm like physically
And it's
jittery.
really
Like, yeah.
important for me on a stimulant medication that I have a good
Oh, yeah.
because if it is too stimmy, I'm just going to be
Well, that's what I'm saying.
like
I'm
my
saying
eyes are
like
going to be shaking out of my head.
W.GG, jitterless energy. They don't actually have this flavor anymore, and I'm kind of glad about it. I have this can, but I don't like this flavor.
Well, it's perfect for the ad reads then.
Yeah, I mean, they said they removed it from their catalog, so I feel like I can talk shit about it now.
Yeah, I mean, if it got removed, it got
It
removed
was
for a reason.
passion fruit or passion joy tea. It's crisp passion fruit iced tea.
I'm sorry, but what were they thinking with the demographic that they're selling to and going with something like an herbal fruit tea?
I don't
Like,
know. But they have a blue raspberry that I want to try. It's called Big Energy Tears. That sounds pretty funny. But yeah, so
mhm.
but you guys need to use my code so I can get my own flavor or my own cup. I need it. It's beneficial for my brain. I need this.
He needs the dopamine, y'all.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But yeah,
yeah, we can
thank you
go.
W.GG for sponsoring the podcast and everything that I work on.
Yep. All right. So, considering that I'm a new streamer,
Mhm.
I the biggest thing that I think is holding me back is just my reluctance to learn the skill of editing and start working on actually producing the content.
You don't understand how much I understand because I have been doing this for, like I said, almost 10 years on and off, doing YouTube, Twitch, stuff like that. I have been so hesitant to edit streams. I used to record them and edit and try to edit them down, and I'm just like, I'm lazy. I want to edit. I'm like, I can't get it down. But my brain finally one day was just like, I'm just going to sit down and edit this stream. And the best way that I would say you could edit a stream is watch it. Like, if you
Mhm.
have an edit or if you have a VOD version of it, put it in your editing software and just watch it. If you're like, wow, I've been sitting here for about 5 minutes and I haven't said a single word, I'd cut that
Right.
out. Like, watching it is probably the best way that I could say to start editing it. I mean, obviously, later you'll figure out, oh, I can look at audio levels. Like, there's no audio here. I can cut that out. Maybe there's like a little thing that you remember that was in like a space of quietness. Then you can kind of cut through. But like, I would say a lot of the times, like when I'm even streaming, I'll be like, oh, that was a good bit, and I'll take down the time because you can always check your timestamps.
Right.
I mean, obviously on computer, it's a lot easier to do that stuff and see your times and even start and stop an extra recording so that you have that at the end of a recording and stuff like that. Like you stream from Xbox, which is there's nothing wrong with that. It's a wonderful platform. I love how easy
Mhm.
they've made it on Xbox.
Just getting a
Um,
webcam is going to be the biggest thing for me.
oh
So
yeah,
if
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to continue to stream from Xbox, which I plan to do for a while, just because that's the platform I grew up. It's what I'm comfortable playing on.
Oh, yeah, yeah, obviously. I do not I'm fully starting off this. You guys all know this, my viewers all know this. I do not support Streamlabs pretty much at all, but they did recently come out with a software that I have not seen any other company do, and I'm super glad for them to do it, that allows you to broadcast your Xbox through your PC without an Elgato. So it allows you to stream using overlays and having music in the background and do that all from your computer, completely disconnected from your Xbox. Um, I'm not saying I'm sponsored by them. I'm not saying I endorse that. I'm just saying that it is a program that is out there that if you are streaming on Xbox and you've wanted a little upgrade, it is something out there. It is, I think, a paid program, but I mean, whatever.
Right.
But
So I guess the biggest question that I have is like what editing software you would recommend. Because the only thing that's really keeping me, I feel like I would have fun editing videos because I
mm-hmm.
like that process of picking and putting and trying to like design and everything like that. I've always liked that kind of stuff. I love making something as best as it can possibly be. Um, However, anything that can be considered art, I usually enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, but I just need to know what editing software to use and then spend the time getting familiar.
Okay, this is a big thing with editing is that it's always based on you personally because it's like how is your way of learning how to do something? Are you good at like being able to pick up stuff easier? Do you need an easier interface? Or do you want to just jump into like stuff that like the pros are using and learn that way you know how to use that when you get to that level? Or what?
I said that one.
That one, yeah.
I just
I've
want to
been
jump in the
that
deep
way
end.
kind of too, but then again, it's also based on budget too, because
Yeah.
obviously I have both Vegas, which used to be Sony Vegas, but now I think it's Magix. Um, but Vegas is a one-time purchase that obviously to upgrade to the newer version, like I have Vegas 20, and to now they just released 21. To upgrade to the new one, I believe it's $100 or something like that. But it's like $300 for the program, and that's a one-time payment. You never have to pay for it again. But it is much more limited than something like Premiere from Adobe or DaVinci Resolve. I would say DaVinci
Mm-hmm.
Resolve is a nice one to get into if you plan on going to get into Adobe Premiere at some point, because they're very similar. DaVinci is much cheaper. But if you do have like if you don't have a lot of like monthly subscriptions and you're interested in doing that, you can get down to, I believe it's like $60 a month for all of the Adobe cloud software. So Photoshop, Premiere, After Effects, Lightroom, all of that. You get all of it for like $60 a
Mm-hmm.
month. Um, that's what I have right now. But I still use Vegas to edit. I use Photoshop, but I still use Vegas to edit because I just know it better. I could sit down and try to learn Premiere, but I'm canceling my subscription because I'm not a big fan of it. And Paint.net and DaVinci Resolve are two cheaper alternatives to, or even GIMP. GIMP is a Paint predecessor that is a wonderful thing to Photoshop as well. Um, but yeah, I would say that starting off, I would start with just like maybe one of those like ones like not Filmora, but there's one called it's like WonderCam or something like that.
Yeah,
Or Hit
I think
Film
it's
or Hit
Wonder
Film
there.
is pretty cool too. I think it's called Hit Film. I'm not sure. I haven't used those ones in forever. Like I said, I bought Vegas and I started using Vegas, and I've grown to love it because I don't do a lot of like big edits. Like I don't do like text on the screen. Like I can do that stuff, but I don't do like captions that follow things and 3D
Mm-hmm.
graphics and stuff like that. I pretty much just do cuts, zooms, and basic stuff like that. So if you're gonna do stuff like that, Vegas is a wonderful option.
Makes sense. I guess the only other main question that I wanted answers to, I'm sure I'll come up with more as we kind of moves forward, but the biggest thing is like getting the Twitch channel set up. I know that there's like milestones that you have to hit to unlock certain features. I have
Yeah.
absolutely no clue what those milestones are and what I have to actually hit to be able to like start getting subs and everything like that.
Twitch is one of the best softwares, or Twitch is one of the best websites for that specifically. People are
Mm-hmm.
saying, "Oh, Kick does it better," but Kick just copied Twitch. So, like if you actually put Kick's website and Twitch's website next to each other, Kick is just Twitch recolored green. Um,
Okay.
but YouTube does it too. It's but like YouTube's is a lot more like you kind of have to get this, and then we'll see if you can. Um, Twitch is like this is what you need to get, and if you hit this, you're pretty much gonna get that. Um,
Right.
and on Twitch, if you go to your channel board on, I don't know if you can see it on phone. I barely use my Twitch app anymore. I used it to message you today because I woke up out of bed and saw that you went live, and I was like, "Bro, it's fucking 10 o'clock. I'm already running late." I was like, I just woke up." Like that's like so I
Luckily, SDNFPs are chronic late runners. We can throw things together in the span of 5 minutes that you think would have taken like 10 hours
Oh
to
yeah, I
prepare.
do that shit all the time. Like I but yeah, so but on your computer, if you go to your creator dashboard, you can actually see a thing that's called achievements, I think it's called now. And it'll
Mhm.
actually show you exactly what you need to get affiliate to where you can start getting subs and bits and stuff like that. And it'll show you
Okay.
exactly what you need to get partner. It'll show you exactly what you need to get more VIP users. It shows you exactly what you need to get all these achievements. Um, and it tells you what you get to do if you do those things too. Like if you get this building a community, you get 10 more VIP. You get 10 more of this. You can get this and stuff like that. And it's a pretty cool system to do. And I believe unless it's changed, to get affiliate, it was you need 4 streams in the last 30 days, a total of 12 hours, and 3 concurrent viewers in the last 30 days.
Mhm.
And the one that hits everybody is that 3 concurrent viewers.
Right.
Um, but it's one of their requirements. I mean, I feel like I'll never hit partner because partners is 75 concurrent viewers.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot for a newer
And
channel.
there's no, well,
I feel like that's a breaking point.
there's also no incentive to get partner anymore. Other than if you want to like go to do stuff like TwitchCon and stuff like that because it gives you cheaper tickets. There's no incentive to get partner because they give the same payout as affiliate now.
Mhm.
Um, there's no incentive to even go further than affiliate anymore. And you can get affiliate so much quicker than you can get partner that people don't even, they're like, once they hit affiliate, they're like, all right, cool, I'm good here. Um, so now it's now becoming the thing where affiliate's kind of like the base. Like people are like, oh, cool, because everybody gets paid 50-50 now.
You know what? Okay, I find it interesting now that I'm thinking about it that one of the requirements is 3 concurrent viewers because that means like 3 viewers on average from your
Yes.
stream
Mm-hmm.
over the last 30 days.
Yeah.
That completely incentivizes just turning off the stream when people tune out. Like, because you can almost
Yes.
play the game with it of like, okay, I'm just going to do this.
And some
And
people
if I
will
don't have viewers, I'm just going to.
some people will do that when they're like when they know that they have like a following that's like I know I can get 3 people. For 1 month, they'll only stream the 3 days or 4 days or whatever they need to do. They'll stream for 12 hours total, so they'll stream 4 3-hour streams or whatever. And then they'll not stream for the rest of the month. And then at the end of the month, it's like, all right, cool, you have the stuff to do to apply for affiliate, and then they'll apply, and then they'll stream normally again. Sometimes it's a hit to their career though because those people that are used to streaming for longer times or those people who are used to streaming more often won't come anymore because they're like, oh well, he doesn't stream as much now. But it's hard to
Right.
explain that like, oh, I'm just trying to hit affiliate because then you feel like because then a lot of the times people are like, oh well, he's just doing it for the money, or he's just
Right.
doing it because this is a staple point in society to be like, I have this affiliate.
Yeah, it's interesting that they would make that one of the requirements to me. It does make sense, but I guess the way that they execute it is a little questionable to me. I feel like you could have come up with a better alternative to that. Because 3 seems like such a strange number too. Like that seems unbelievable low.
It's
But at the same time,
it is, but you don't know how many people sit there and they'll have 3 viewers, 3 viewers, 3 viewers, but then like they'll have one of those streams where they'll get like one, or they'll have like five, 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 and then they'll get one stream where they've got nothing, and they're sitting there, and then at the end of the month they have like 2.93 concurrent viewers.
does it reset each month?
It's the last 30 days. It's not
Oh,
each month.
30
It's the
days.
last 30
Okay,
days.
that makes me feel a lot better about that system. I would have almost complete like if it was it resets every month. I'm not doing this unless I make a bunch of alt accounts to make sure I hit the view number.
Yeah, it's actually like it's one of the reasons I'm so like weird about like when I go into people's chats and I'm like, oh, like trying to help them talk and keep them talking is because a big thing about doing Twitch is being able to talk when nobody else is. Because
Yeah.
you're when somebody joins in, they say the average rate that you have 5 seconds to catch their attention or they're gone.
Mm-hmm. I had one stream where I had like 50 unique viewers that came through and only one of them stayed. I remember I looked at that, I was like, how long were these people here for? Like,
Yeah, so that's the thing is that your average attention span to catch somebody's attention is 5 seconds. And if you're sitting there and you're building something or you're doing something where you're not talking a lot, people will join in, be like, "Oh, this person doesn't talk." and they're gone. You've lost that viewer now. So I try to talk as much as I can. I try to make reference to even just like I'm recently playing Portal, and I guess that dates this recording, but I've recently started playing
Uh,
Portal, and I guess my beard dates this recording because I just shaved yesterday. But um, I just recently started playing Portal, and I'll even because I know the game so well, and I've like Portal 2, I've been like flying through it. I'll even just start reading captions. Like I'm just like quoting the game, like to the point where like because like it's something that when they join, they hear that I'm talking. And that's another thing is that like having a webcam helps because they know that the person isn't going to be like a lot of the times, especially with Minecraft gameplay, you'll get people who do no commentary where they
right.
just stream the game and it's like ASMR, but it's like I just don't know how you're gonna build a
You're not
community
going to
that
be a big
way.
streamer that way. You're not
Yeah,
going to
so
get
it's
like
like,
1K viewers with no commentary Minecraft.
but I was like, I'm just like, I mean, whatever, teach their own. But then a lot of the times, like, even those streams, sometimes I'll pop in just to see how they're doing. And a lot of the times, and this is to anybody who wants to do ASMR gameplay, I'm not pushing it down. It's obviously a market that people want to do. Listen to your own fucking microphone or your audio. Because holy shit, am I sitting there listening to audio that is peaking the mic when you're breaking dirt blocks or peaking the audio? Like, fucking turn down your audio, man. I know it's ASMR, but holy shit.
Or like when you're jumping in and out of water, trying to
Yeah,
swim, and
oh
it's
my
just
good
making the
lord. You
noisily
don't
loud
like.
boss noises.
Christ. That is like my biggest pet peeve. That or echoey mics. Like having somebody listening to their own stream and it playing into their own microphone. Holy shit. Is that like. I get it if you want to test audio at the beginning of the stream or if you want to check on audio and make sure everything is good. Quick in and out. Mute the stream. Turn it down. If you're listening to it on your phone and you're doing it for chat, mute it. Go into chat only. There's a chat only feature for a reason. In
Quick
fact,
question.
even on your phone, they have a mobile dashboard. Whenever you go live, they send you a link to that page.
Yeah. A lot of people, it's just, this is another example of people not knowing the resource disposal. But one of the things that I was thinking about going back to the concurrent viewer count, like, there's nothing to stop you from going and making 2 or 3 alt accounts. And then just like my girlfriend has a laptop, she has a phone, I have a phone. There's 3 right there that I can just have there in the background. It's like
And Twitch
I
is
don't know if
smart
they
about
really
that.
thought it did.
No, Twitch is smart
What?
about that. IP addresses.
IP addresses. I was wondering if
They do
something like
count IP addresses, and a lot of the times they won't even count as a concurrent viewer if they're not chatting.
okay.
So if somebody is watching, it's fine. It counts as a view to you, and it might count a view to Twitch, but sometimes it won't classify as a concurrent viewer or as a viewer in your total. It'll count as somebody who like came in. And a lot of the times, if they like move their mouse or if they click on the stream or if they turn down the volume or something like that, it'll count them as joining into the stream. And that's a lot of the times where you get a lot of those um like like pop-ins. It'll look like you got a lot of people who like popped in, but it's just like maybe the same person who's just like lurking that will click on the web page real quick or do something else, or maybe they're just listening to your stream. It might not count to what you hope it does unless they're
Right. So
chatting.
where would I see the where can I check my stats
I don't
to
know if
see?
that's what I'm saying. I don't know if you can do it on your phone. I'd have to
Mm.
check my phone app, but I don't know if I can check it on my phone.
I'm not seeing it right now actually.
I just know that on computer it's called achievements and it's under your dashboard. In the past I wasn't able to check it on my phone, but like I said, I don't ever use my phone app, so. But yeah, it's just it's like I don't know,
Yeah.
my thing is taking forever to load. Yeah, I don't know if I can check it on your. You don't know if I don't think you can check it on your phone.
Does not seem like it.
Does not, but it's super easy. You just go to twitch.tv and then you can go to your channel or creator dashboard and then you can do that. So it's simple, but
Yeah.
like I think
I do
right.
have three people that I know always show up to my stream, at least um, at various times, though. It's not that they're concurrent.
Yeah,
Usually I'll have two.
creator
So,
dashboard and it's under analytics. It's called achievements.
okay, so it's under analytics. Yeah, I was there on my phone. I don't think I saw that.
If you go to the Twitch app or the Twitch website on your phone, you might be able to do it, but I don't think you can do it. Hey, I actually just got you've built a community. Interesting. No, I already had that. I don't know why you're telling me I just got that. Okay. Path to affiliate is reach 50 followers, stream for 8 hours, stream on 7 different days and have an average of 3 viewers.
Okay, so that's the 50 followers part. That makes sense.
They did change it. They changed the way that this was worded. It used to say 3 concurrent viewers, but now it says an average of whatever viewers.
Right. That is just synonymous with concurrent, though.
Yeah, but if you actually like look at the information tab on it, it says it's a concurrent viewership excluding raids, hosts, and embeds. So it actually has to be somebody who's on your stream.
Okay. What is an embed?
So an embed is when you embed the like if you take like the HTTP like code for it and put it into a website. So like sometimes when I do like charity events, if you go to Tiltify, you can actually see my stream on that website.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that doesn't count as a concurrent viewer to you. If they're
Okay,
watching
that
it
would
through
make sense.
the Tiltify embed, it wouldn't count as a viewer to
Right.
you. Um, but Path to Partner is streamed for 25 hours, 12 different days, and 75 average.
Okay.
I have a 1.21 or a 1.12 average of 26.53 hours
Not bad.
in the last 30 days.
I'll partner by March. That's my challenge.
That'll be my birthday.
Oh, fair enough. Oh God, you're gonna be started on that other stuff now. March when?
24th.
24th.
I'm an Aries.
That'll make you an Aries, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, I am an
Yeah.
Aries. I'm a weird
Okay.
Aries though. There's 2 types of Aries.
There's three, but go on.
Well, there's 2 that I've interacted with. Um,
Okay.
and a lot of the times there's a lot of Aries that butt heads with everybody. And I've never
Ruled by the Ram, so
I
that
know.
would make
And I've
sense.
yet to find an Aries that is the same type of Aries that I am, where I get along with a lot of other people. I don't follow astrology a lot, but I'm interested in my own, obviously. But um, like I'm not like I don't blame my actions on my astrology shit. Like I'm not like it's a
Yeah.
Gemini day. No, it's not. Shut up.
The moon's in Scorpio, so I'm gonna kill my entire family.
Yeah, like I'm not like I was an asshole to that person. It's fine. It was a full moon and it was an Aquarius sun rising star. What?
Mhm. It's always very funny to me. The fun part is Carl Jung, the guy that came up with the ND system, actually based a lot of his archetypes around his studies of astrology. Um, and he actually practiced it quite diligently himself, but he was not very public about it because of perception around it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a lot of the fields of psychology, like the personality sciences and everything, are very much made in the same way that astrology was made. It's something that's purely based off of observation of patterns relating to external fixed things.
Yeah.
So the external fixed thing would be a particular human behavior, and Carl Jung observed, patterns within that, and then documented it and classified it. That's exactly how astrology came to be, and that's how a lot of different sciences actually came to be. So I will have this argument with people all the time about whether astrology is a science or not, and I'm like, well, it depends on how you define science because it is an evidence based practice, but it's not
Depends how you're using
something that
astrology
can
too.
empirically be tested. It's not something that can empirically be tested. It's an
No.
observational science,
Yeah.
which you can have a semantical argument of like, okay, that's scientific then, but it is. It's observation based science. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've been on I was on a date once with a girl where I straight up left. We were in the middle of dinner and she was like, "So what's your sign?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm an Aries." And she goes, "Oh, that makes so much sense." And I go, "Oh, really? Does it?" And she goes, "Can you guess what I am?" I go, "I don't know, a Gemini." And she goes, "How did you know?" I go, "I don't know, because I'm sitting here and you're talking about astrology while I'm trying to eat my pork roast."
it's actually really funny because I witnessed an exchange between an Aries and Gemini that went almost exactly like that on a
I
date.
was
And
like,
we're
I'm
like,
not. I was like, I'm not gonna sit here and talk about this right now. And she's like, Yeah, I'm sorry, I was a jerk to you when we first started talking. It was just like it was like the time for a Gemini to be that. And I was like, if
oh
this
my
is going
goodness,
to
it was the
be, I
time.
was like, if this is how this is gonna be. I literally was like, if this is how this relationship is gonna go, I'll leave right now. And she goes, What do you mean? I go, Do you follow everything your astrology says? And she goes, Absolutely, down to a point. And I went, Can I have the bill, please?
Yeah, so that's why you have to understand that it is an interpretive practice, not a literal
I was like,
guide
I
on how to
am
do.
not gonna sit here and be told that, like, I.
Right.
And to each their own. I mean, obviously, if you want to follow that, that is 100% your thing. I
I'm going
don't.
to ping your accuracy here real quick. It should not be to each their own because people end up horribly wrong. That's
I know, I
insane.
get that. I mean, I'm saying that I'm not gonna bash anybody for wanting to do that.
Right,
But what
right.
I'm saying is that if you're trying to shove it down my throat, I will have a problem.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not like it's a much different thing than like somebody being like I mean, vegans get an awful rep about that. Is like, oh, I'm vegan. I know vegans. They're not like that.
Right.
There's been a couple cases where people just take it and it's been to the extreme. I was vegan for a total of 2 weeks. I did the 7 day vegan challenge twice. I respect the hell out of them. There's no way I could ever do that shit. If you follow that shit to a point to where you're like reading shit, I couldn't eat honey.
Hmm. It's a lifestyle,
I'm
and
like,
some people are more
bro.
into that style, and some people aren't. The people that aren't are the ones that tend to go crazy doing, make it higher personality. The ones that are attuned for literally care less.
Yeah,
They just
and
carry about their day like
but
normal
yeah, but that's
people,
the
and
thing
we
is
do.
I've gone to dinner with people who I didn't even know were vegan, and they would be like, "Do you have any vegan options?" And I'm like, "Are you like doing a date?" She's like, "No, I've just that's who I am," and I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." I'm like,
Mhm.
"Do you mind if?" And then a lot of the times I'll even ask if they're upset with me eating meat at the table, and if sometimes people are okay with it, and sometimes people are like, "Yeah, it upsets me," and then I'll order something different. Like I'm not gonna sit there and have somebody be like, "I'm upset about this," and then be like, "I want a 8 ounce steak with
Mhm.
extra butter," and like I'm not gonna be that
Right.
asshole either. Like I'm like, I, obviously I can go one meal by eating no meat. Like I'm not gonna die. Like it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But then you do have the other extreme of people who like hear that somebody's a vegan by somebody else having a conversation and they go the opposite extreme and do that what I said, like order a steak and order this and order that and like get all this type of cheese and stuff like that. And it's like, why?
Well, I mean, to be fair, you could also have the vegan friend that is not wanting to. They don't want to. They're thinking the exact same way you are. Like, they're going to get their vegan option, but they don't want you to change
No,
that way.
yeah, no,
So if you
I
told them to,
totally get
they're going to
that.
feel a little pressured by it.
No, I totally get that, but it's not like even like I don't even like think about it that way because I even get like a vegan option that might have like cheese. Like I don't go fully overboard, but like if they're like if like we go out to lunch or something like that and like I was deciding between like a sandwich or like a salad and they're like they I find out that they're vegan, I'll just end up getting the salad. And like I'll get like an antipasto with no meat
Mhm.
or something like that. Like
Yeah.
I'm not like or like I'll just get like a Caesar or something like that. Like I'm not like gonna
Mhm.
be like, oh, I'm gonna go full vegan for this meal, but like I might just like decide to not get meat that time. Like I don't bring it up to them. I'm not like,
Give
oh,
and
you're
take with so
deciding my
many.
like I'm not like, oh, you're deciding what I'm getting. But if like I ask them and they're like, yeah, it kind of upsets me when people eat meat around me, I'll be like, all right, cool. And then like then I order and I'm like, hey, can I get this? I mean, obviously, if they ask,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, did you get that because I said something?" And like, I'll be like, "Yeah, but not because you said something." Like, obviously, I was deciding between those two things anyway.
Right. So it's like finding that balance between still being authentic and also being considerate of others.
Yeah, I try
But
my best.
yeah, it's funny with me. This is kind of going back, but a lot of the fields that I'm interested in, or that I am, you know, would consider myself knowledgeable in, tend to be hot topics.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never had the luxury of being inoffensive to people, um, because I find myself in a very interesting kind of demographic because I'm what a lot of people see as the traditional white male Christian. It just like ticks all three of the boxes of like, oh boy. Um,
Yeah.
so it's like it's always interesting because even though I belong to those demographics, I'm so far on the extremities of them to what's like traditional. And there's this quote that I live by in scripture, but it's also funny when I look at it that wisdom is devoid of means. Um, and it's true on your personal experience of things, but sometimes the wisest path lies on what society considers to be the most extreme at times. Um, I don't know. It's always interesting to me because the more rational you are, the more you tend to find the chaos in the world.
Yeah, I've definitely had I've it's funny because I've had people be like because of how I present myself, I've had people
Mhm.
either in my chat or when I post something be like, "Oh, just another straight white Christian male." Like I'm like, "You're so wrong in so many layers." Like I've been like it's so weird because I'm a pansexual atheist. Like
Mhm.
like it's so weird because I'm sitting there like how do you know that off of like I'll post like me I went like downtown once where I was just like I had like a flannel on because it was cold and people were like, oh, just another Christian white male pushing his agenda, and I'm like, bro, I wore a flannel because I thought it looked cool.
Right. Just that's really the prime example of how the extroverted ethic has just gotten so skewed, like so skewed.
Yeah.
It's like people do not vet anything before they make conclusions. They just take whatever they immediately perceive and move on with it, like ESFPs that I was telling you about earlier. Um, there are some personality types more susceptible to it. Love y'all to death, but just as we have our problems, you have them too. Um, But to be fair, your personality type actually falls into it quite a bit too. Of like, if it's a tradition that you've grown up with, and you haven't kind of grown and made your own traditions, you've kind of adopted other. You can very much be raised to believe and personally hold value. Um, Typically, though, I find it's the SFPs and NTJs that have much more of a bad because they have their intro as their own personal ethics and they have their introverted intuition for the idea of the world that they have perceived. And because their intuitive perception of patterns and their ethics are both introverted and personal, good luck convincing them to not do whatever they can to pursue or actually their life. It's like eh, my sister's an ENTJ, and I absolutely love her to death, but she's the kind of person that if she gets focused on the thing, she accomplishes the wrong thing. So it's like they have a very big responsibility because of how powerful their wiring is for accomplishing goals, to spend a long time vetting the ethical realities of their goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I have one last question.
Yes.
Is Are dreams at all related to your personality type? Because I have a specific question about a dreams.
Partially.
Because I can never remember my dreams very often. I remember two dreams specifically, but then this is off topic a little bit. But I've had two dreams. One where Godzilla was rampaging down in Detroit, and I was driving around. I was like 10 or something like that. Don't know why. And then I had another dream that is a fun story to tell at parties because it was so random. Because I came out of my bedroom and fucking Lady Gaga was juggling chainsaws in my living room, and then she disappeared into my bathroom. I heard the toilet flush, and then she was gone, and that was the whole dream.
Mm-hmm.
But I tend to have this thing where I see maybe 3 seconds of a future moment in a dream,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something completely random. It could be like just my mom asking me to hand her a spoon or something like that. And I'll have this dream. And I'm like, why did I dream about that? And then months later, it'll happen. And I'm like, bro, this was the dream. And that night, always to the dot, that night, I have the next one.
Hmm. So there's
But it's like,
two interesting
it's the
ways.
weird thing about the dreams, the future dreams, though, is that I've had dreams with people that I didn't even know existed that I met in my future.
Mhm.
Like I've had dreams that like my girlfriend at the time, I had a dream before I met her that went and did something together, and I was like, I don't know who this person is, and then randomly we were driving around, and I was like, I had a dream about this.
Right. So there's two ways that I can approach this, and I think both of them are universal of the answer. Uh, the amount, first of all, that you remember your dreams, then how much time you spend stages
Mm-hmm.
one, two, and three, and then REM.
Yeah.
And three is when most dreams happen, and then REM is even vivid dreams, but you tend to, if you wake up in N3, like you go to a woke state from N3, that's when you tend to remember most of your
And
uh,
that's where my Lady Gaga dream was.
potentially. So without knowing how your sleep cycles usually go, it's hard to say why you may not remember dreams as much as you do, or specific ones seem to stick. Because you very well could have had dreams where you had more like 3 second prophecies that you saw, basically, but you just didn't remember them because you didn't wake up at the right time. Something to consider. But
That's crazy to think about.
barring that potentiality, we have the fact that you have them very rarely that you manage to happen. And accepting that that's absolutely accurate, that your representation of that is, faithful to the accuracy. Um, the way that I look at that is that the way it relates to your personality type, at least, is I believe that could be your introverted sensing and extroverted intuition, taking the experiences that you've had and projecting future possibilities based off of data that you've passively been kind of, gathering and whatnot.
Mm.
Because on a subconscious level, there's a lot that happens. And one of the biggest things is familiarity. So even if it's somebody you haven't met before, there are certain characteristics within people that you would be interested in meeting or that you would happen to meet due to similar interests.
Hmm.
And your subconscious mind may be, considering that and projecting most likely scenarios. And if your brain meets all that criteria, it almost seems for sure like it's going to happen. It may not make sense, but your brain's put together pieces over time with patterns and subconscious behaviors that you can accurately predict, a small tidbit of when something might happen.
Hmm.
That's a rational explanation. The supernatural explanation, and this is the
And
reason
these are
why
my
mythology
favorites.
was developed in the first place anyway. Mythology came about to explain concepts that are so mechanically intensive in a much more simplified and societally communicable form.
Hmm.
Something that's much easier to digest that still carries the gravitas and philosophy and the weight of, something highly technical. But the rational explanation for that would be that it was some kind of divine vision that is, you have a certain gift. I can talk about this in the context of Christianity since we're talking about the metaphysical after I've already provided a potential for it. Um, it would be the gift of prophecy. Um, Sometimes, at least from my view as a Christian, it may not seem like there is a point to you knowing that, but it could be something that your skill to be able to do that is being built up over time to one critical moment where you're to
I'm
have
leveling up.
premonition of somebody, like being in a situation where they might die and you be able to somehow prevent them. Or somebody's going to get sick and you'll be able to preempt that and say like,
I
hey, I
did.
listening
I
in.
did vision. One of the visions was actually much different than a lot of the other ones, and it was when my dad passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a dream that he died laughing, and he'd been in the hospital, so it could have just been my brain was just like that's where it was at the moment, and
Right.
he was just like, but yeah, he died. He didn't die laughing, but he did die peacefully. So it was one of those things where it was like he just went, and I was like,
At ease. And
all
that's
right,
really kind of the theme that you were getting.
yeah. And it was like it was weird because I it was maybe a week beforehand. I was like, I know it's
Mhm.
coming.
Yeah.
Well, on that
So,
sad note, I think we're gonna kind of wrap it up here because we have been going for an hour and a half now. Um,
mm,
is there anything that you want to shout out that you're working on or that you want them to go check out?
um, yeah, I mean, if you guys would be interested and you want to get hyped by me, I can tell you all about your personality type. You can stop my stream. I haven't set it up yet, so I'm not doing it professionally. Eventually, I will be, so the window to have it done just casually and for free is not going to last forever. Um, because obviously, as you can see, from Kevin, you can attest to this, like being able to identify the natural ways that you work, having the comfort of knowing what is and isn't you is extremely beneficial.
Oh yeah.
And the life coaching that can come from having that knowledge, your actual physical brain working, it really is invaluable. You cannot put a price on it. That's why I often don't like to, but as I discussed earlier, Kevin,
Yeah. And then
um,
your Twitch name is.
didacticgaming02. So that's DIDACTIC, and then gaming 02.
And if you're watching on YouTube, you can click go down to the description. It'll be linked in the description. If you're listening to it on Spotify or anything like that, it should also be in the description. I don't even know if you can click those links. It allows me to add a link to it, but I couldn't click it, so I don't know.
And just as a little side note, if you come from this video, let me know. I always like to know those kind of brain just.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this wonderful podcast, do give it a like on YouTube and a follow on Twitch or not Twitch. Spotify. I'm so used to saying Twitch. I mean, yeah, you can follow me on Twitch as well at Kevin Creates. Everywhere you can find me is Kevin Creates or Kevin Creates _. So yeah, or you can go to my link tree. I think I have a link tree still. linktr.ee/Kevin Creates, and all my links are there. Uh, but yeah, so definitely check out Brett. He's got a wonderful stream. I enjoy watching him. He's been doing a lot of Minecraft lately, but I hear you also do Overwatch as well.
Yeah, Minecraft and Overwatch. Those are going to be games.
I definitely do want to do a stream with him at some point. I do have Bedrock Edition, so we can play together.
Maybe we start a survival series. I can be the.
Oh my gosh, it's come full circle. Survival series. I could never do a hardcore series. I've tried to, and I end up just turtling. I end up going into one hole, and I never get anything done.
Yeah.
But yeah. I know a lot of the technical things of Minecraft. I'm not very good at the surviving aspect.
I'm getting better at the surviving. That's why I'm playing on hardcore now. So it's not, you said.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that we've definitely helped each other out with even just learning shit. Like, he was running doing Bastions the other day, and I learned so much about Bastions I'd never known. Because I don't do survival, so I never had to learn that stuff. But I also had known different tags and stuff like that that helped him out throughout the Bastions as well. But yeah, if you definitely want to check him out, Twitch, his link will be in the descriptions.
Don't get psychoanalyzed.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Definitely. So if you guys enjoyed, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. All right.